There is something quietly powerful about understanding where you come from. Not in terms of geography or family history, but in terms of the raw material you were built from. Before the world gave you a name, a role, or expectations, you came into this life with something extraordinary potential. Not something earned through years of work. Not something someone handed to you as a reward for good behavior. No, potential is not a reward. It's a birthright. From the moment you arrived on this planet, you brought with you a unique combination of strengths, talents, and gifts that no one else has ever had in exactly the same way. Even in your earliest days, before you could speak or walk, your mind was absorbing, processing, and preparing you to grow into the person you were designed to become. That drive to reach, to explore, to connect, it was already there. That's not learned behavior. That's internal wiring. That's innate potential in motion. You see it in children all the time, the way they ask questions endlessly, the way they try something new without hesitation, the way they dream without limits. That's not arrogance or naivety. That's untouched, unfiltered potential expressing itself. The tragedy is that as we grow, the world teaches us to fear failure, to seek approval, to question ourselves instead of our limits. Over time, we forget that we were born with everything we need already inside us. We're often led to believe that potential is something external, something we have to chase or prove. But the truth is that it doesn't come from a certificate, a degree, or a title. Potential is not measured by the car you drive, the job you hold, or the number of followers you have. It can't be validated by someone else's opinion. It's something deeper. It's the voice in your gut that says, I can do more. It's the fire in your chest when you imagine a better version of your life. That isn't fantasy. That's your inner self trying to remind you of who you really are. Think of potential like a seed. Every single person is born carrying it. But like any seed, it doesn't bloom on its own. It needs the right conditions, time, care, and the courage to grow in sometimes uncomfortable environments. Still, no matter how long it's been dormant, the seed never disappears. That's the thing about real potential. It's not fragile. It doesn't vanish because someone overlooked it. It doesn't fade because you've made mistakes. It can be ignored, buried under years of fear or self-doubt. But it's still there. There are people walking around today unaware of the power they carry within them, simply because no one ever told them it was there. Or worse, someone convinced them it wasn't. But potential doesn't need recognition to exist. It doesn't need applause to grow. The only thing it needs is a decision to act, to try, to step forward. The second you choose to believe in it, even in the smallest way, you begin unlocking something that was always meant to be awakened. There's an unspoken strength in simply realizing that you came into this life equipped with creativity, with resilience, with intelligence, with imagination. No one else may have seen it yet. You might not even see it clearly yourself, but it's there. It's why you've made it through everything you've already survived. It's why you still dream even when things go quiet. That's not coincidence. That's not hope without reason. That's proof of potential, undeniable and built in from the start. The world may try to define you by your past, your failures, your limits, or your circumstances. But those things don't determine your potential. They only test it. And the fact that you're still here, still searching, still striving, that is the greatest evidence that you carry something powerful within you. Something no one else can access but you. Recognizing your potential is only the first step. It's a beautiful realization, yes, but it's not enough. Potential on its own is inert. It has no weight in the real world until it is paired with movement. Just as electricity means nothing until it flows, and a key is useless unless it turns a lock. Your potential demands action to mean anything at all. The truth is, talent and ability are not rare. The world is full of people with potential, people bursting with dreams, ideas, skills, and vision. But not all of them do something with it. What separates those who make an impact from those who remain in the shadows isn't their level of natural ability. It's their willingness to move, to try, to start, to fail forward and learn quickly. It's the commitment to action that transforms potential into power. It's easy to sit with ideas, to daydream, to map out what you could do or would do if conditions were perfect. That's the comfort zone of the mind. It feels productive because it keeps you mentally busy, but it doesn't change your life. Thought without action is like a spark without fuel. It looks bright for a second, but then it dies out. You can have the most brilliant idea in the world, but if you don't move your feet, if you don't put in the work, it remains locked away in your imagination. An unused asset fading slowly over time. And this is where many people get stuck. They wait. They wait for certainty. They wait for confidence. They wait for someone to validate their idea, for fear to disappear, for the conditions to be right. But potential doesn't grow under perfect conditions. It grows through pressure, through risk, through doing things that feel uncomfortable. It's forged in the fire of experience. That means you can't think your way into greatness. You must act your way into it. Confidence doesn't come before the leap. It's built on the way down, through every decision, every mistake, every step forward. Action breathes life into potential. The first draft of a book is rarely brilliant, but it's what makes a finished novel possible. The first try at a new skill will often look awkward, but it's what opens the door to mastery. Action is what allows feedback learning growth. It's how you find your voice. It's how you refine your purpose. You don't become better by waiting. You come better by doing. And doing doesn't always mean big, bold gestures. Sometimes it means small, quiet consistency. Waking up an hour earlier to work on your craft. Taking a class to learn a skill you've always ignored. Making the uncomfortable phone call. Sending the email. Showing up again and again, even when progress feels invisible. That's where transformation happens. Not in bursts of inspiration, but in steady momentum. That's what activates potential. People often confuse motion with progress. There's a difference. Staying busy with distractions or endlessly preparing can feel like movement, but it leads nowhere unless you're actually stepping in the direction of your purpose. Real action is intentional. It doesn't always feel exciting, and it's rarely glamorous. But it is the only thing that brings you closer to the life you're capable of living. You cannot unlock your potential by waiting for clarity. Clarity comes through action. Each move you make teaches you something about what works, what doesn't, and what matters. You discover parts of yourself that were hidden, strengths you didn't know you had, and courage you didn't know you needed. That's the process. That's how potential becomes real, not in theory, but in practice. So many people die with their potential intact, never having pushed the limits of what they could have been, simply because they never took that first imperfect step, not because they weren't capable, but because they waited for the right moment that never came. Potential is not something you protect. It's something you spend. The more you invest it in action, the more it multiplies. The more you hold on to it, the more it withers in silence. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. For many, it feels like a final verdict, a sign that maybe they weren't good enough, smart enough, or talented enough to succeed. But failure is not the opposite of potential. It is part of the process that reveals it. Falling short does not cancel out your ability to rise again. In fact, It is often failure that sharpens your awareness, deepens your resilience, and exposes the edges of your strength. If you let it, failure becomes a tool, not a curse. People often mistake failure for finality. They assume that missing the mark means they've reached the limits of their ability. But potential isn't fragile. It's not something that crumbles when you make a mistake. It doesn't disappear when you fall down. What failure actually does is force you to confront the truth. Are you willing to keep going even when it's hard? Are you willing to push past embarrassment, doubt, and disappointment to keep moving toward what you believe is possible? You cannot grow into your potential without facing failure. It is not a detour. It's part of the map. The greatest athletes, thinkers, creators, and leaders didn't reach success by avoiding failure. They reached it by embracing it, learning from it, and using it to fuel their next move. Every setback gave them data. Every mistake offered feedback. Every obstacle strengthened their character. Without those moments of falling short, their full potential would have remained hidden, unused, untested. Failure is a mirror. It shows you what still needs work. It shows you where your preparation wasn't enough, where your approach may have been off, or where your mindset needs realignment. But it also reveals where you're stronger than you thought, where you were brave enough to take a risk, where you cared enough to try. That willingness to step into the unknown, to act even when success is not guaranteed. That's a clearer sign of potential than any win could ever be. The fear of failure is one of the greatest barriers to growth. It paralyzes people before they even begin. It makes them aim lower, stay smaller, and quite early. But failure only has the power to stop you if you let it define you. The most important distinction you can make is this: failure is an event, not an identity. It's something that happened. It is not who you are. You are not your worst moment. You are not your most recent mistake. You are not the project that didn't work out, the opportunity you missed, or the rejection you received. You are the one who got back up, the one who faced something hard and chose to keep moving. That's what reveals potential. Persistence through discomfort, not perfection on the first try. There is strength in showing up after defeat. There is growth in reviewing what went wrong. There is dignity in choosing to rise again. It's often said that experience is the best teacher, but that's only half the truth. It is reflected experience, the kind that comes after failure, when you take time to examine what happened, extract the lessons, and apply them moving forward. That teaches best. That's how you become wiser. That's how you build intuition. That's how you learn to trust yourself even more. And all of that contributes to your evolution into the person you're meant to become. Some of the most powerful transformations are born out of the most painful failures. Not because failure feels good. It doesn't. But because it strips away the illusions, the excuses, and the masks. It forces you to decide what matters most. And once you failed and stood back up, you are never the same again. You're stronger. You're more grounded. You're more aware of what you're capable of surviving. And that is what deepens your potential, not diminishes it. Potential does not expire when you hit a wall. It is not revoked after you fall short. If anything, failure proves that you're in motion. You're reaching. You're testing the boundaries of what's possible for you. That's where real growth begins. Not in the comfort of success, but in the fire of failure, when you choose to learn instead of retreat. There is a point in every person's journey where the voices from the outside world begin to quiet, and the only voice left is your own. That voice. How it speaks to you, how it defines you, how it responds to adversity is the single most important influence in your life. Not your circumstances, not your education, not your past. Your belief in yourself is the foundation for everything you can create, overcome, or become. Without self-belief, potential stays locked behind fear, self-doubt, and hesitation. With it, the impossible begins to shrink. You could have every gift imaginable. You could be born with vision, talent, intelligence, and resilience. But if you don't believe in your ability to rise, grow, and endure, those gifts will remain buried. The truth is, no one can hand you belief. No amount of compliments, applause, or support from others can replace the power of your own conviction. You have to cultivate it. You have to choose it even when it's hard to believe in yourself, especially when it's hard. Life is relentless in testing how much you truly believe in who you are. It will throw you challenges that make you question your worth. It will put people in your path who don't see your value. It will present situations that feel bigger than your courage. And in those moments, you don't rise because everything is certain or easy. You rise because you believe there is something in you that is greater than what's against you. Self-belief isn't about arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about understanding that your path is yours to walk and no one else can walk it for you. It's the internal knowing that even when you don't have all the answers, you are capable of figuring things out. It's trusting that your efforts matter even when results don't show up right away. It's being loyal to your own potential even when no one else can see what you're trying to build. There will be times when you are misunderstood, times when you're underestimated, times when your confidence gets shaken by rejection, comparison, or failure. That's when self-belief becomes more than just a feeling. It becomes a decision to keep moving forward, a decision to keep your eyes on what could be instead of being paralyzed by what is, a decision to bet on yourself over and over again, even when the odds feel like they're against you. Belief in yourself is a force. It's what allows you to take risks. It's what gives you permission to dream boldly. It's what fuels perseverance when nothing else is going your way. Without it, doubt grows louder. Fear becomes a barrier. Hesitation becomes habit. But when you believe in yourself, you create momentum. That energy becomes contagious. Others begin to believe in you too. Not because you convince them, but because belief radiates from those who carry it deeply. Every breakthrough begins with self-belief. Every transformation, every leap, every bold decision, you can trace it back to a moment when someone said to themselves, I can do this. I may not know how yet, but I will find a way. That moment is more powerful than any external validation. Because when belief is rooted from within, it can't be shaken by circumstances or opinions. You don't need to have it all figured out to believe in yourself. You don't need a perfect track record or a flawless background. You don't need to be the smartest, the fastest, or the most connected. What you need is the courage to claim your own worth, to look in the mirror and decide that you matter, your dreams matter, your effort matters. You need to stop asking the world for permission to believe in what's already inside you. The people who go the farthest aren't always the most talented. They're the ones who refuse to give up on themselves. They're the ones who hold on to belief when logic tells them to quit. They're the ones who see something in themselves that no setback can take away. And that belief becomes a compass. It guides every step, every risk, every comeback. It anchors you when the ground shakes and reminds you of who you are when the world tries to tell you otherwise. There is a dangerous illusion that traps more dreams than failure ever could in the belief that there will always be more time. That somehow, someday, there will be a perfect moment to begin, a clearer path to follow, a version of yourself more prepared, more confident, more worthy of starting. But that moment never comes. Perfection is a myth, and waiting is its disguise. Every second you delay taking action on your potential, you are allowing hesitation to rewrite your story. Now is not just a convenient time to act, it is the only time you ever truly have. The future is a beautiful concept, full of potential and promise, but it is also uncertain. It is not promised to you. It's not guaranteed that the opportunity will be there when you're finally ready. What is guaranteed is this moment, right here, right now. And within this moment is the power to change everything. You don't need to have all the steps figured out. You don't need to know the whole road. You just need to start. Start with what you know, where you are, with whatever courage you can gather, and build from there. Waiting for the right time is a form of fear dressed in logic. It convinces you that you're being smart, being careful, being strategic. But what it's really doing is keeping you still. And potential cannot grow in stillness. It grows in action, in risk, in movement. You don't get to see how capable you really are by standing on the edge of your dreams, running simulations in your mind. You only discover your power when you leap, when you try, when you dare to build momentum from scratch. Most people aren't lacking talent. They're trapped in hesitation. They spend their lives over-planning, overthinking, overanalyzing every possible outcome, waiting for a sign that never comes. Meanwhile, time keeps moving. The world keeps turning. And all of the energy they could have used to create something is spent convincing themselves why they're not quite ready. But readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. You become ready by starting, not by waiting. If you look closely at the people who are living out their dreams, making an impact, building something meaningful, you'll find they all have one thing in common. They began before they felt fully prepared. They started with what they had and allowed the process to refine them. They didn't wait to be experts. They didn't need every detail to be in place. They understood something essential. That clarity comes through motion, and confidence is born in the doing. Time is not your enemy, but it is not your servant either. It won't pause for your fears. It won't hold back while you wait to feel more certain. It moves forward or without your participation. The longer you hesitate, the heavier your unrealized potential becomes. Not because it's gone, but because the burden of unused possibility begins to feel like regret. And regret is the weight of 1,000 opportunities never taken. You don't need to make a giant leap today, but you need to move. You need to make a call, have the conversation, put the pen to the page, take the class, send proposal, launch the idea. You need to do something. Anything. That declares, I'm not waiting anymore. Because each small action reinforces a belief that you are worthy of your own effort, your own investment, your own future. No one else is coming to push you. No one is going to appear with a checklist to say it's time. That moment is yours to claim. You have something inside you that the world hasn't seen yet. You have ideas, strength, and resilience that haven't been fully tapped. And they won't come out until you decide to make use of what you've been given. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when the fear is gone, but now. Every excuse, every delay, every reason to wait will still be there if you look for it. But so will the door you keep walking past. So will the version of yourself that's been quietly waiting for permission to step out. You don't need more time. You need more trust. Trust in the fact that your first step may not be perfect, but it is powerful. Trust in the idea that action is the spark that awakens potential. Trust that everything you've been waiting for begins the moment you decide to begin. You were not placed on this earth by accident. You came here carrying within you the spark of something extraordinary. Potential that is not borrowed, not earned, but inherent. And that potential is waiting, not for the right time, not for perfect conditions, but for your decision to act. It's not enough to simply know you have potential. A knowing is passive. Doing is powerful. You have to move. You have to try. You have to put one foot in front of the other, even when the path ahead is unclear, because potential that sits idle fades. But potential in motion becomes transformation. Failure will meet you along the way, but it doesn't define you. It refines you. Every stumble is proof that you're pushing boundaries. Every mistake is a sign that you're reaching beyond comfort, and none of it erases your worth. None of it cancels your capability. But none of this matters. None of it. If you don't believe in yourself, not once, not temporarily, consistently, even when no one else claps, even when doubt knocks, even when progress is invisible, you must be the one to speak life into your vision. Because when belief is rooted inside you, it cannot be shaken from the outside. And while others wait, hesitate, and pause, you begin. Because time is not a promise. It's a moment, and that moment is now. Your story doesn't begin when you're ready. It begins when you're willing to trust your strength, to honor your gifts, and to rise. Not someday, not soon, but today. So let the world feel what's been locked inside you all along. You were born with potential, and it's time they saw what that really means.